Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today I'm going to put a new sediment bowl in this antique tractor. First, I got to pull the hood off. It doesn't have the hinge screws in there, it's just set on there, so that's not a big deal. The problem is that this sediment bowl is an aftermarket bowl, and I'm not exactly sure how they put that on there. It looks like it has Teflon tape on it, but this bowl has always leaked. I did a whole bunch of work on here, new plug wires, electronic ignition, changed all of the fluids, hydraulic fluid, changed the water, took everything off, all the oil, the filters, pretty much everything. I still have to do the steering fluid, but then I tried to start this and it would only run for a little bit. So I did some troubleshooting and I rebuilt the carb. There's a video on that. And then I ran it with fuel that was in this test tank here. And it ran just fine. I took the test tank off, put it on top of the gas tank, and drove it out there. So I know that the tractor is going to run just fine once I rehook everything up. But I do believe this sediment bowl that's on here was part of the problem. Well, one thing, it constantly leaked. No matter if it was on or off, it dripped gas down onto the transmission here, and we can't have that. So I was going to pull it off and then reseal the threads and put it back on. But this is an aftermarket sediment bowl. You can tell by this little lever here. This is just like, well, it's not a wing nut, but it's kind of like a wing nut. And I'll show you what they're supposed to look like. In the owner's manual right here, it has the writing on the knob, and it has a regulation knob on it. It has writing on there that tells you how to operate the reserve, which is just like this. This is a replacement one for a Ford N series. A lot of the parts that are on a Ford N are the same as on these Fergusons. They were jointly made for a while and then they split up, but a lot of the parts are exactly the same. And one of them, I believe, is the sediment bowl. There may be a different thread here where it connects to the tank, but I don't think so. I think basically this is the exact same part. The one in the image here is a little bit elongated, but I do believe this is the exact part that I need. So first I'm going to get the hood off, then I'm going to pull the old sediment bowl off, and then I have a thread sealant that's made for gasoline. I'm going to use that, get this on, and what else do I got here? I should have all the parts here. I have a new inlet, and I was thinking of putting in an inline filter, but there's a lot of people that say just don't do that because it's a gravity feed system, and if the inline filter is a little bit too fine, it's not going to get enough gas. The system already has 3 screens, one up here, one right here, and then this one at the inlet. Well, I'll show you that when I put it on. So if you keep those clean, that should be enough filtration for the system. All right, let's get the hood off and get to work. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the one I just took off, and I believe it has to be a replacement. I don't know when they replaced it. It was probably a long time ago because this is made in America, but this is not for that tractor as far as I can tell. It's missing two things. On the fuel threads, NPT fuel threads here, these threads are shorter than these. So if you thread that up in there and you run out of threads, it's never going to tighten up. Also, it doesn't have the reserve tube. This tube right here, the gas normally comes through the top, but if you run out of fuel, you turn this, the instructions are right on there, as it shows right there. You turn this all the way open, and then it opens up down here, and this screen will filter out the stuff that's at the bottom of the tank. It's never really good to do that, but it's there just in case you run out of gas, you open this all the way up, and you got enough gas to get it back to the barn and refuel. This does not have that. So this is missing a couple of the features that are on the one that should be on there. So let's get this one on. This is made for gas too. And what was on there was just white Teflon tape. And white Teflon tape is not made for gas. You need the yellow tape or a thread sealant that's made for gas. This is made for gas. So let's get this back on. Actually, I have to steal this, and this is in pretty bad shape. We'll take this off and see what it looks like. I don't have a replacement for this, and I don't think I have anything in here. This is from the carb rebuild. So if it leaks from here, I'll have to go get another one of these, but I don't think it will. It's possible though. Okay, I got this off. It kind of looks like it has a screen in there, either a screen or it's plugged up. Let me get that cleaned out with some carb cleaner and see what that looks like. Alright, I found out that both of the problems I was having were from this one part. It's cross-threaded really bad. And even if you goober something in there, this is a flare fitting, it's not going to stop it from leaking. So I got to get a new one of these, and it was plugged up. That's why there was no gas getting to the carburetor. I'm really glad that I replaced the carburetor and that I'm going to replace the sediment bowl and flush those lines. And with the replacement of this, I should have like a perfect fuel system for a good amount of time. So I'm going to grab the dog, we're going to head to town, and we're going to go to the auto parts store and see if they have it there. If they don't, I have 2 hardware stores I can go to, but I think they're going to have this at the auto parts store. Hopefully. Let's head on down there. There is just no end to the issues with this little tractor, but I guess that's to be expected with these old tractors. Okay, here is the current issue. I went to town to try to replace this part, which was threaded into here. This just has like a through hole, and it's a fuel thread, I think. So I put it on the counter, said, "You got anything like this?" And he said, "No, we have basically the exact opposite." And then he thought for a while and said, "Wait, let me see what I got in back." He came up with this, which is pretty much an exact duplicate of this. It's just a little bit different size, but it's an adapter like that. So I'm thinking, oh, that's awesome, I got it. So I go to put this onto here, and it's not fitting. I'm thinking, what the heck? And I tried it on here, and it fits just fine on here. So I'm looking at this, and then I notice the flare part is built right into this. So I grabbed the line, which is right here, and tried threading it on, and it's a direct fit. I didn't need this at all. Unbelievable. So I'm not going to mess around with this. I'm not going to take it back or anything. I'm just going to thread this on and get this done. Okay, we have another little problem. This is the fuel line itself, and I went to clean this, and it's just filling up with fuel. There's a clog in the line here somewhere. So I'm going to take some soft copper wire, run it through here, get the clog out, and then really rinse this good with carb cleaner. Holy moly. Okay, we've got some 14 gauge ground wire. Here we're getting fluid out the other end now. There's the end of the wire. Alright, I'm going to have to run this. I'll pull it all the way through, and the bends in the copper should clean it out a bit. You can see all the gunk coming out of there. Alright, now let's see what happens with the spray through test. Alright, what I'm going to do is fill this line up with the carb cleaner and let that sit for a while I'm putting on the sediment bowl, and hopefully that does the trick. I think I'm going to run that wire through it a couple more times as well. I had this fuel line hooked into the flap on this box, about like that, and it was completely full of carb cleaner for about a half hour. Then I dumped it out, rinsed it out a few more times, and it's flowing freely right now. I don't know, I might replace this at some time, but it's working real well right now, so I'm going to put it back on. And these are flare fittings, so you don't put any of the goop on these. And this is the other side right here. This has a screen on it, but you can see it has a spot for the flare right there. So no goop on these, but let's get this end onto the sediment bowl, and then we'll work our way to the other side and get that on it. With that end just snug, I'm going to get this part on and get this tightened up part way, and then go back and forth and get them both tight. Okay, this does get pipe dope on it. We have another problem here. This fuel line was custom cut to fit this sediment bowl. This input here is offset, and the one on that is right in the center. Plus, this has this adapter here, so that makes this fuel line just a bit too short. So now I'm gonna have to go get some fuel line, and it'll have one end flared already. I have a double flare tool, so I'm gonna have to get it bent, cut, and refit it to this setup, and then I should be good. Okay, we had to run to town anyhow, so no harm, no foul. It's just taken forever to get this done. We measured this fitting, and this is exactly 20 inches long, like this was never cut. This one is 30 inches long because they only sell them in 10-inch increments. And we double checked the fittings. They appear to be exactly the same. You got the one smaller one and the one longer one. So, oh, and the only difference is they sold these in steel, just like this, and this nickel copper. The nickel copper costs a little bit more, but it's real easy to work with, easy to bend, easy to flare, and I don't need any problem. So let's start fitting this and get this flared and get this job done. Okay, so again, I'm just going to snug this up into the sediment bowl side, and then, well, this time I have to bend it, and I actually got to get it down here and around in here and then over there. We'll see if I can do a better job of bending than the one that came out of here. I got this pushed up behind the exhaust here, and it's snugged into the sediment bowl. I want to keep it away from the exhaust, but it has to be above the air intake here as well. I think that's going to do it right there. And I'll give it a little bit of tension and mark it. Now I got to go cut this and flare it. Okay, now to get these cotter pins on the choke cable and the throttle cable. My kit only goes down to 1/16 by 3/4 inch. Hopefully those are going to work. If not, I will have to do that later. Okay, finally done. I have my sediment bowl in, I have my new fuel line in, I have cotter pins in both the choke and the throttle cable. Should be able to drive this. I need to turn on the battery and put some gas in here. I have 2 gallons of the mixture for this. This is 92 octane gas with 2.5 ounces of lead substitute, that's not actual lead, and 2 ounces of octane booster in it. Like I said, I only have 2 gallons, And this thing, I believe it holds 5 gallons, but it's only going to use 1 gallon, and then you have to put it on the reserve. It would be a nice way to try the reserve to see how that works, but there's always the risk that you're going to get, you know, the junk from the bottom of the tank down into the fuel lines. The old fuel line was, of course, all plugged up. You're not going to be able to see in there, but it looked incredibly clean in there. I looked in there with a flashlight. This may be a replacement tank. Can't tell you for sure. All right, I'm going to pour all of that gas in there, put this back in place, and start this thing up. Hopefully it'll start. Quick check to see if this is leaking or not. Okay, this is locked. Let this fill up and see if it leaks right away. So far, so good. Okay, the old one would have been dripping off the bottom already, so just close that back up and continue to fill this, and we're going to try to start this thing. Okay, the secret recipe is to turn this open 2 full turns. That's 1. That's 2. Now we're on the main tank, and if you turn it all the way open, you're on the reserve. I can see bubbles coming out of that, so it must be filling the carburetor. Hopefully we don't have any leaks anywhere. Nothing so far. Nope. Okay, I'm going to try to drive this, and I need to see what the oil pressure is and what the ammeter is saying. Okay, battery connected, key on. Okay, throttle at about 1/4, and then you can't accidentally have this in gear because you start it with the shifter. But I'm going to put the clutch down anyways. I took it on a test drive all the way down to the end of the road and back, and then I came over here and picked up this implement. This implement has been sitting there for 3 years right next to the house, and we had no way to get it without the tractor running. The tractor is running awesome. Starts every time, just fires right up. No leaks anywhere. And well, this is turned off right now. You're supposed to turn these off completely when you're done. And the key is turned off. And that's about it. She's running really good. Now I'm going to put on headlights, a backup light, a road light, and what else I'm going to go tomorrow and get a drawbar for this so that we can pull that wagon. But it is running very good. So if you want to see the other stuff we're going to be doing on this, I believe the next thing we'll be getting this hood on, and I'm going to wire up the headlights. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.